The Radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this January 1st, first day of 2025. So glad to have you here joining me. I really appreciate that. Yesterday, we had this amazing show over 4 hours, and it abruptly, unexpectedly ended when my internet just went out with no warning, no slow phasing out, just went out. And it basically went out because I don't know why. Something happened. Maybe it's related to the power outage we had early in the day. It didn't come back on until I think it was 12:30, so after midnight. After the fireworks were all over, the internet finally came back. I mean, it was horrible, so I apologize. It was an abrupt ending to a great show. I didn't get to do any kind of summary. I didn't get to thank all the super chatters properly. I didn't give you an update on where we were in terms of the money raised. Yeah, and we have a bunch of super chat questions that I never actually got to. So because of all that, I figured I'd do a show today, which I was not planning to do, basically as a catch-up show. So we will finish doing all the super chat questions. We will also, I will give you an update on where we are in terms of the fundraising from yesterday. And of course, during all of this, you can add more super chat questions. That is, you can ask more, and you can continue to support the show. That is, any money we raise today, I will count towards the final goal. I'll just say that we ended yesterday. If you count the super chat and you count what was done offline on PayPal, we ended yesterday about $725 short of $20,000. So far exceeded the goal of 15. So that is amazing. Thank you to all of you. It was fantastic. And if you want to help get us to a nice round number of, $20,000, which would be really nice, then you can do so by contributing today. I mean, it's just an arbitrary figure in terms of when we do this. So on New Year's Eve, you can continue to support the show today and help us get to the number. And I think if we'd stayed on yesterday, I think we would have made it. If you'd prefer to use PayPal, like we did yesterday, then feel free to do it on PayPal. Just go to PayPal and put in Yaron Brook Show, Yaron Brook Show, and you can make a contribution there for any amount. I mean, the nice thing about PayPal is it's not restricted in terms of the amount that you can contribute. All right, Tessa just came in with $100. Thank you, Tessa. I mean, if we get a bunch of Tessas, we'll be at the 20,000 mark very quickly here. So really, really appreciate that. Miroslav has just put the link to the. Miroslav has just put up the link to the PayPal account. So if you're in the chat, you can access PayPal through that link, and you might just put a comment in the chat that you've done that, so I can go check on PayPal and add in the number to the total. So thank you, Tessa. I really appreciate that. Huge help. Also, depending on how much time we have, depending on how many questions you ask, depending on how everything goes, we can also cover what I promised to cover yesterday, which was some positive news from 2024. We can cover that also today, but that'll depend on kind of how much time we have. I am limited in time today, so today's not an endless show. We can't go on forever. Probably go an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes is kind of my limit. And yeah, and I definitely lost a bit of my voice yesterday, and it has not come back. and we can go for there. Neil says, can you analyze Fight Club? Movie reviews are $500, so $500, and I'll analyze any movie you want. All right, let's jump in with yesterday's super chats. We've got a bunch of them, so quite a few. Although a lot of them are just Happy New Year kind of messages, but it's an opportunity to talk about all these things. What is going on with this? Okay, that is definitely weird. All right, that's useless. Audio recording that I was making. Was not picking up the microphone. Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out before next time. I'll test it out. It was working yesterday. All right, let's see. Where are we? Yes, Neocon. These are questions from yesterday. Neocon, thank you. The U.S. right hates corruption. So it says it hates corruption. I'm not sure it does. Yet, it admires Orban, the EU's most corrupt leader, without any question. Hungary, Orban's country, relies heavily on EU subsidies. If you look at GDP growth, if you look at Hungary growth and economic success, it's all driven by European Union subsidies. Absolutely. So Neocon says hypocrisy at its finest. Yeah, I think it's hypocrisy, but I think it's deeper in a sense than hypocrisy. It's, what's going on here is the U.S. right doesn't care about economics. It doesn't really care about corruption. It cares about certain social issues. It cares about religion. Orban promotes religion. He claims to be religious. He claims religion guides his politics. He is anti-left. He shuts down the left. He hates the left. He goes after the left at every opportunity. That the U.S. right loves. Corruption, economics, not that important. Not that important. They're just not priorities for them. Economic growth, not that important. So it's the cultural issues. More than anything, it's the cultural issues associated with religion and nationalism and things like that that really excite the American right, and that's what you see. All right, and let's see. All right, so, and I will get to the questions or the comments from people today, but I'm going to start with the comments from yesterday and try to catch up. And if capitalism is an unknown ideal, then have we always been mixed, and maybe we'll always stay mixed? Well, it is an unknown ideal. We've always been mixed, although the mixtures have changed. We used to be much closer to capitalism. I'd say the second half of the 19th century, we were much closer to capitalism in the United States, and we have certainly since 1914 on, maybe since the beginning of antitrust laws, which is 1890s, we have slowly but systematically moved away from capitalism as the dominant feature, moved more and more towards a mixture that primarily emphasizes socialism and statism and state involvement. Now, maybe we'll always stay mixed. I mean, maybe, but it's unlikely. Mixtures usually tend to go towards one consistent extreme or another. They either go towards more and more and more statism, which is what we're seeing, or they tend to go towards more and more freedom, which we're not seeing. So I don't think we stay mixed. I think over the very long time, over the periods of, many decades, maybe even centuries, it either goes towards more authoritarianism and dominantly authoritarian, or towards freedom. JB says, Happy New Year, Yaron. Happy New Year, JB. Happy New Year to all of you guys. I forgot to start the show with a Happy New Year because we did that all yesterday. But Happy New Year. Nick Rosado, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. All right, let's see. Not your average algorithm. Thoughts on Jimmy Carter's passing? Good riddance. So I was gonna do a section on Jimmy Carter tomorrow as part of the news roundup, and I probably still will. I'll just say in terms of Jimmy Carter, very, very, very mixed. More mixed than any other president that I know, in a sense of he did some really good things that are underappreciated, but are really good. And he did some really bad stuff that I think particularly the right focuses on. So maybe that is appreciated and the focus is on the bad stuff. And as a human being, I have the exact opposite view of what most of the culture thinks. Most of the culture thinks, oh, as a human being, he's wonderful, he's great, because he exuded altruism. Build, Habitat for Humanity and building homes and volunteering. But he also, as a private citizen, supported Hamas, was a huge advocate for the Palestinians, hated Israel. So what are the good things he did? The main good thing that he did, which you can't underestimate, this is big, was that he deregulated the U.S. economy. We got major deregulation bills under Jimmy Carter. I don't have the list with me today, but I'll have it prepared for tomorrow. We're talking about trucking and airlines and brokerage. He also appointed Paul Volcker. So Paul Volcker ultimately crushed inflation. It took him a while, but Jimmy Carter appointed him. It wasn't Ronald Reagan who appointed him, even though Ronald Reagan got the credit. Indeed, all of Carter's deregulation initiatives, all the stuff that he initiated in terms of deregulation, Ronald Reagan got the credit for. And Carter never did. So that's the good stuff. The bad stuff is in two dimensions. One, he exuded meekness. He was just a pathetic leader. I mean, the famous TV appearance in his sweater, trying to save energy. So wear a sweater, don't consume gas. It's so weak. It's so pathetic, particularly for a president of the United States. It was completely demeaning of the office. It was really absurd. So all of that. He put in the Department of Energy and the Department of Education. But in that sense, he was on a roll from Richard Nixon, who expanded government significantly. But the deregulation, I would say, if it was just those two, the deregulation swamps it. Deregulation far more important than the Department of Energy or even the Department of Education, because it had massive impact on the 1980s and 1990s and the standard of living, quality of life of Americans. And then, but the real thing that really exuded this meekness and pathetic nature of America was his foreign policy. His foreign policy vis-a-vis the Soviet Union, which was all about détente and helping them and sending them wheat when they were hungry, and really compromising and selling out vis-a-vis the communists, which was really awful and horrible. And but even worse than that was his response to the crisis in Iran, his refusal to support the Shah, his in a sense, complete and utter pathetic weakness in the face of the hostage-taking of the American embassy in 1979. So it's the sweater, appearance on television, the establishment of an energy department in the face of the energy crisis of 1979, but then his foreign policy was just awful. And then as a human being, pretty awful, right? Focused very much on altruism. But I always have a soft spot, right? I'll always have this positive, which is the really systemic, massive deregulation that he engaged in, with a Democratic Congress, by the way. So this is Democrats doing it. And he didn't do it through executive order. He did it the hard way. But the hard way also means that he did it the sustainable way, the way that you can't easily reverse, in the way that airlines are deregulated. Still, trucking is deregulated. They've never gotten back because he did it through legislation. And he worked with Congress, a Democratic Congress. And he did it. Some of this deregulation started under Ford. And here the real villain is Nixon, who was an awful president from this perspective. He embraced more new regulations than anybody. But Jimmy Carter, with respect to deregulation, was very good, and with respect to Volcker, was very good. All right, Christian. Yesterday I found out that Jimmy Carter was even guiltier than I thought concerning the Islamic Revolution. Did you know there was secret communication with Khomeini and even help for him? Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Carter basically embraced the idea of getting rid of the Shah. The Shah was ultimately not a good person, right? He was not a good person. We have to admit that. He did not treat his people well, and he definitely was an oppressive authoritarian, and there's plenty of reasons why the Iranians wanted to get rid of him. And Jimmy Carter, being kind of a human rights, focus on human rights, and this is true of the European left as well. The European left was very much enamored with Ayatollah Khomeini. I mean, many French intellectuals went to Iran, wrote raving reviews of Khomeini and what he's like and everything else. So anyways, I think a lot of the left, Jimmy Carter included, thought that Khomeini was a good alternative, a good replacement to this oppressive dictatorial Shah, and they celebrated. Now, I don't know when the communication was, when the help was. I assume the help was before the hostages were taken. The Shah, of course, Khomeini did nothing to free the hostages. He didn't initiate the hostage taking. The students did, but he gave in to them. He basically let them guide the process and let them dictate the terms. They had made his revolution possible, and he was not going to turn on them because they happened to attack the Americans, which he completely supported. So yes, on that issue, Jimmy Carter was absolutely, unequivocally just horrible. Just horrible. All right, guys, you guys are being great, and we are chipping away and getting very, very close to our goal for today, which is $725 for today's show, so we can make a total for the kind of a New Year's, a $20,000 thing. So we're only $271 short of now of the $725. So thank you to everybody who's already done a super chat. Feel free to come in. You can also do stickers. You don't have to ask a question. You can also just do a sticker. And again, any amount counts. Any amount is a value. And of course, you can also go to PayPal and make a contribution there. The PayPal link is in the chat. You can find it. You can find it over there. So feel free to use that as well as a way to contribute. All right, let's keep going here. I'm doing, for those of you who just come in, I'm doing the super chat from yesterday. There are 40 still questions on the yesterday queue, and then we've got 7 new questions from today. 7, 8, 9, 10 questions from today and 37 in the queue from yesterday. So we're going to try to get through all of these. I don't think we'll have time to cover anything else, and hopefully we can cover the 271 with stickers and remaining questions. If I still have questions remaining today that I can't get to because I do have to stop at some point, I'll make sure to cover them tomorrow in our show tomorrow, which will not be time constraint as much. All right. Gregory says, thanks for being a voice of reason and spreading the ideas of freedom. All the best for 2025. Yeah, I'm excited for 2025. I think the show is going to grow. I'll share with you tomorrow. I'm going to come up with some numerical goals for 2025 and share with you what those are. And I'm excited about the show. A lot of it has to do and is going to necessitate some real growth in subscribers. I mean, it would be great if we can make 50,000 subscribers next year. That's going to take a big push. I don't know from where it's going to come. Maybe my course is being released on Peterson Academy. We'll hope maybe my interview with Stossel interviewing me in a few weeks. We'll hope, but I'm really excited about trying to get to that 50,000. Hopefully we can get at 40,000 here quickly, and then aim at 50,000. But that's going to be the long term kind of the yearly goal. It will involve more subscribers added than ever on the Yaron Brook Show. So it's a really ambitious goal. But hey, what are goals for if they're not going to be really ambitious? Meribens, thank you for helping me flirt with my immigrant fiancé. Even when there's an ocean between us, YBS brings us closer together. Happy to allow you to flirt. The flirting is entertainment, as always. And her boyfriend, Philosophy at Work, replies, Meribens, I love watching Back to the Future and Apollo 13 with you. The only reason I didn't cry is because of those damn immigrants. They're going to take our sobs. Sobs. All right. There you go. So, got advice for biotech startup founder in 2025. I don't know. Being a founder, wow. I mean, that is unbelievable. Hard work. And there's just no way around the hard work. It is the way. It's just the only alternative for this kind of work. Biotech is particularly difficult because often the returns on investment are way in the future. That is, if a tech company can take 3, 4, 5 years to see any kind of returns, biotech can go easily 10, 15 years. So you just have to be patient. Don't be impatient. Science, the kind of science biotech does, it takes time, and it's So don't lose the passion. Stay excited. Stay thrilled, and be patient. And hopefully it all comes together. And RFK is not approved by the Senate for Health and Human Services, which I think would be good. If he's kicked out, it'd be good for biotech. RDF says, just sent you $100 through PayPal under my real name, Robert D. Fowler. Oh, we now know who RDF is. No longer anonymous. All right, RDF, thank you. Really appreciate the $100. I did count it towards our goal. So it is there. Thank you. Colt Savage, Happy New Year, Ron. Happy New Year, Colt. It's good to see you here. Supkaski, in 2017, Trump launched missiles at Syria as punishment for Assad's gassing its citizens. What is your view on using American air power and missiles to punish crimes against humanity? I'm generally against it. I think U.S. power, U.S. military force should only be used when American direct interests are being threatened. But in this case, because America made a red line, Obama made a red line, saying if you use chemical weapons, we will punish you. I'm glad at least Trump did something, because Obama didn't. He wimped out. And the worst thing is to have a red line and it not live up to it. So I'd rather not have red lines. So yeah, I'm generally against action for so-called crimes against humanity unless they are directly related to an American interest. Apollo Zeus, Happy New Year, Yaron. Keep doing what you do. What will we be doing after the show? We went out for dinner. Will you wait up until midnight and see 2025? Yeah, I mean, we're going to get home from dinner at around after 11. So we stuck around. Plus, the fireworks are so close to where we live in our condo. And there's a restaurant right across that was celebrating. There was no way to go to sleep, right? Boom, 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 right in our windows. So, yeah, we stayed up until after midnight, watched the fireworks. We could see from our windows, looking out on San Juan, we could see probably 20, 30 fireworks shows. Now, they're in the distance, but it's still pretty cool to be able to see all of them. Some of them right in front of our window. Now, great fireworks in front of our window is just some guy setting up fireworks. But still, it was cool. It's always fun. Christian, what is your favorite football team in Israel? Since I was in Amsterdam with Razi, I like Maccabi from Tel Aviv. I'm from Haifa, so Maccabi Tel Aviv are the enemy, particularly in football. I don't really have a team, but I guess my family all are supporters of Maccabi Haifa. So that is my team by extension of my family. One of the few things I extend from my family on. Okay, hey, Esoteric Dichotomy. Hey, Yaron. Thank you for the year of interesting lessons. Do you think you will do an episode on fixing education, like the finance and immigration? Yes, and I'm looking for sponsors for that. So if you'd like to sponsor a show on fixing education, like the same way I did immigration, finance, and I will be doing healthcare on Saturday, if you'd like to sponsor that, or if you'd like to contribute to sponsoring that, I can't take small contributions for that, but if you could do 250, 500, the total show is 1,000. Maybe we can get 4 people to do 250 to do a fixing education show. I would love to do that. That would be great. Generally, I'm looking for sponsors. One way in which we can ramp up the revenue for the Yaron Brook Show, which I need to do. My goal is to increase it next year by probably 15%. Is to get more sponsorships, more show sponsorships, more regular sponsors like Alex and like the Ayn Rand Institute, or if you have a business with a product that you think I could market and you'd be willing to sponsor it. Those are like a show sponsorship is 1,000 for one show, but a sponsorship where I just mentioned the product every show or almost every show is $1,000 a month. So those kind of sponsorships, it'd be great if I had a few of those that I could alternate during the month in promoting. And as a consequence, that would be a great, relatively easy way to grow the revenue for the show. So if you have anything like that, consider it. And then, of course, the other way, which would be really phenomenal, is encouraging more of you to become monthly contributors. So hopefully, particularly those of you who do not participate in the Super Chat, but even those of you who do, becoming a monthly contributor, at $10, you get a ads-free RSS feed for the podcast. You can get the podcast ad-free on Patreon. But you can listen to it on any podcast app you want. You get the feed from Patreon. But then if there are people out there who can do 100, 250, 500 a month, that would be great if I could get just a few more people at those levels doing regular monthly contributions on Patreon, on PayPal. Patreon, I think, is easier for everybody, but either way works for me. That makes an enormous difference in terms of predictability of income. And so my goal there is to increase the number of people who are monthly contributors to Yaron Brook Show by 20%, which means, on Patreon by 20%. Right now it's 222 people on Patreon, and I think about 300 or so on PayPal. So, at least 40 additional people on Patreon who are not just moving from PayPal, but are really new contributors. So that would be great. I know a lot of you are free on Patreon. You're members, free members on Patreon. It would be great to get you converted to paying members so that we get to those numbers. I hope it's doable. So I'll be mentioning more this idea of becoming a monthly contributor. Thank you, Esoteric Dichotomy, and hopefully we'll find a sponsor for the education show. Supkaski, I am glad to have found your show. Me too. Cook, Wilcox, Stephen, Michael Davis, videos made me aware of you. Well, thank you, Cook. And thank you, Stephen. I don't think do I know Stephen Michael Davis? But anyway, great. I'm super thankful that you guys got Supkask to my show. All right, Esoteric Dichotomy again. To follow up, I find financial education is so lacking. Many people, including my family, live by credit card debt and payday loans. Oh my God, payday loans are awful. I mean, some people really need them, but awful. Look, you have to get into the exact context of and circumstances of people. For some people, payday loans are the best they can do. But I'd say for most people, certainly anybody in the middle class or lower middle class, should never take out a payday loan. The interest rates there are unbelievably high, and you're losing a huge amount on them. And then on in terms of credit cards. Again, credit cards can be very useful. Carrying a balance on a credit card sometimes could be a value, particularly if you can get it at 0 interest or something like that. But you have to be in a stage and a point in life where you're convinced really convinced, that you can pay it off. And if you can't pay it off, you should stop using credit cards. Or what I do with credit cards, always is I pay the balance off every month. I use a lot of credit cards. I have a lot of them. I use them extensively. I hate using cash. It's so much easier to use a credit card. But then I pay off the balance every single, and I like that it's all in one bulk thing. I don't like using, debit cards, where it just comes out piecemeal. I like to be able to look at a credit card statement, see where I've spent the money, and then pay it all at once. So I like credit cards, but don't carry credit card debt. It's just the interest rates are insane and don't make any sense. It's better to get a mortgage. It's better to get a second mortgage, right? All right, Esoteric Economy again. Hey, Yaron, do people who donate monthly get to send questions in to be asked during shows or PayPal? I like your pay question model. It's valuable. Look, it depends how much you give, right? So certainly if you give $250, you actually get time one-on-one with me. You can ask me anything via Zoom. If you do $250 a month, that's once every 3 months. If you do 500, you get every time. If you do 100 a month, I think you can send me questions and I'll answer them. You can also use PayPal to ask me and send me questions. It's less convenient than Super Chat. I acknowledge that. So that's a reality, right? That's a reality. Frank says he's $6,000 in credit card debt. Why, Frank? Not good. So try to, if you can get a 0 interest rate card, try to convert it into 0 interest rate, because otherwise you're paying a huge amount of interest. Huge amount of interest. So I think you can check out the features, but it depends on the amount you give. But one way to think about it is you can go and just do $10 to get the podcast ad-free, just so you have that option. $10 a month, and then come here and ask questions. $10 a month. I mean, that's 2 cappuccinos, right? Applejack just says love. Thank you, Applejack. Rajiv says, Happy New Year, Dr. Brook. Thank you for what you are and what you do. I appreciate that. Thank you, Rajiv. Frank says, please talk about loveless marriage of Gail and Dominique. When they had sex, did she have any response? Why did he stay in this? Wasn't this sacrifice? I mean, I don't think she had much of a response. Gail loved her, but she didn't love him. So I think it's miserable. I think it's miserable because he knows that, but he can't give it up because he loves her. So he doesn't want to give it up. He wants to keep at it. I don't think there's much of a response from her to him in sex. So for her, it's certainly a sacrifice, but that's the whole point. She's doing it because it's a sacrifice. She wants to sacrifice because she wants to punish herself and she wants to punish Rourke. But why does Gail do it? Gail does it out of it's just a Hail Mary that somehow this will work out because he's so in love with her. All right. Okay, so we're still about $241 short of our goal. Why is this not working? Interesting. Yeah, not sure why this is not posting right? There it is. Okay, it's posting right now. Of course, women love men. God, that's so bizarre. Yeah, anyway, let's see. 241 short, so even small contributions, we can chip away at that over the next hour. Hopefully, we can get the 241 covered in the next hour or so. All right. Thoughts, moral evaluation of Werner von Braun. I guess the scientist who worked on missiles for the Nazis and then came over to the United States and worked on them in the United States. Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about his history. I don't know enough about, what it actually means, why he worked for the Nazis and how that all worked out. So I'd have to read a biography. I'd have to know more about him in order to really figure this out. Yeah. By the way, one of the things that credit cards do is they give you the float, right? So you get a float, right? You get to pay the restaurant, and the credit card holds. You don't pay the credit card for 21, for sometimes for a month, so you get the float for a month. So if your account is earning interest, you're earning interest on all the money that you have spent using the credit card and not paid for it. Whereas with the debit card, it takes it right out of your account. You don't get the float. So paying with the debit card, if you're disciplined about paying with the credit card, if you're disciplined about paying the whole balance every single month, it makes much, much more sense financially to use a credit card than a debit card. Much more sense, right? I mean, you have to be responsible. You have to know how much money you have, how much you can afford to spend, and all of that. But I'll take the float any day, right? If you're willing to give it to me. Let's see. Esoteric dichotomy. Hey, Yaron. At work, we have a lot of recovered addicts to drugs or alcohol. Seeing addiction makes me so sad. It feels anti-life. How would a rational society treat drugs, alcoholism addicts? I think, in a rational society, there'd be a lot fewer addicts. Addiction is a consequence of I think a purposeless life. It's the consequence of not having meaning in your life, not having purpose in your life. It's a consequence of deep psychological problems. And I think that in a rational society, we'd have a lot less of those kind of psychological problems that lead to addiction. So that, that's the first. Second, I also think that in a rational society, there would be a lot more sophisticated and a lot more available treatments for addiction. That is particularly for drug addictions, which because the drugs are illegal today, I think the treatments for drug addiction, particularly drugs that could offset the drug addiction, there's just not a lot of investment in it because there's not a lot of consumers for it, because the whole topic is taboo. Imagine if drugs were legal, and now there was a huge incentive to provide a treatment for drugs and for addiction. So I think it would be completely different. It would still be, some people would still be addicted. It would still be sad, but it would be so much better. So much better. Yeah, I mean, drugs and alcohol, a lot of people use them as an escape from anxiety, an escape from a meaningless life, an escape from a lack of values, an escape from a lack of passion, an escape. So, it's in a rational world, that would not be the case. Neo, we want Alex on. You got him. Leonid, thank you for all that you do. I am a longtime listener from even before your YouTube show. Thank you. You are the only public intellectual who consistently voices my views. You inspire me to improve my life. Excellent. I'm glad to be that inspiration. Thanks for letting me know. JB says, let's see Alex. You did if you stayed on, if you were there yesterday. Gin Tracks, thank you, Yaron, for your valuable input this year. The best, hopefully, also politically for 2025. I hope so. Looking forward to it. John says, Happy New Year. Thank you, John. Enric, yes, I think it's very useful to essential ideas, as in talking points, to make the idea easy for people to conceptualize and continue in the long run. That was a response to Alex. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the strength of Alex's talking points, is making them simple and understandable and communicable. That is, I can learn from them how to communicate myself, right? And that enhances your own abilities to communicate. All right, we are now $200 short. So we're again chipping away at this. $200 short, $200 contributions here, and we make a $20,000 goal. So we're very, very close to 20,000. Let's make it. Jonathan Honing, congratulations on an outstanding, meaningful year. Thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate your support and friendship. Florida Nick, is the prize worth reading? Yeah, definitely. It's a really good book. I assume that was for Alex, but I'm going to answer it anyway. It's a really good book and really interesting. Gail says, Happy New Year, Alex, and thank you. Pass it on to Alex. J-Dog, paying off my bar tab, so to speak. Thank you for being a great addition to my morning coffee you're on. Have a fantastic, selfish new year, everyone. Thank you, J-Dog. Really appreciate it. James, rest in peace, Ukrainian and IDF soldiers who died this year. Absolutely. Holding it down for civilization. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Not appreciated enough for that very fact, for the fact that they are holding it down for civilization. Nadav, love your show you're on. You're playing a crucial role as an intellectual. You help us understand the events unfolding around us. In that, you're almost alone. Thank you, Nadav. Jacob, Yaron, I attached a question to my 50. Yeah, we did that. All right, so I caught those yesterday. Mario, Happy New Year, Yaron. Thank you for the fabulous shows. Thank you, Mario. The Prophet. What was the greatest moment in 2024? God, thank you for all the work you do. It has changed my whole life. You are a hero. God, I don't know what you could say the greatest moment was. Yeah, I'm not good at answering questions like that. I have to recall. I mean, seeing SpaceX catch the booster rocket, that was pretty amazing. Following Millet and seeing what Millet did, that was pretty cool. Watching Simone Biles win the all-round gold medal in the Olympics, that was amazing. And see her composure and see her ability to overcome the pressure, the stress, the anxiety, everything that placed on them, all of that. Those were kind of some of the highlights, I think, for me in terms of this last year. I'm sure there are others, but I just can't recall. Frank, could objectivism be damaged if it were discovered that problematic people like Luigi owned Ayn Rand books? Same thing with a good man like Daniel Penny. Yeah, I mean, I think objectivism could be damaged if it was somehow associated with bad people. I think the association with Trump has done objectivism some damage. I think some people will not read Ayn Rand because of that. If Luigi owned books and claimed that Ayn Rand inspired him, that would cause a lot of people not to read her. So in that sense, it would be damaged. The philosophy itself cannot be damaged by people like that. But the people reading, the number of people interested in pursuing it seriously, that could be damaged. All right. Let's see. So we're $191 away from the 20,000 mark, guys. 191. Almost there. Let's see. And again, you can use PayPal to support the show as well, and it'll count towards all of this. Nick, 1 year ago, I told you about starting my undergraduate thesis. 1 year later, I finished it and was rewarded high honors. Cheers to 2024. Fantastic, amazing, Nick. Congratulations. Esoteric dichotomy. What about a cybernetic body with a human brain inside it, including nervous system with pleasure and pain? Perhaps regenerative nanotechnology to extend life for decades, centuries. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, to the extent that that's possible. Again, I think that ultimately something like that's going to have to be biological. I think we're hundreds of years away from something like that. But if it happens, then absolutely, morality applies to that kind of being, just like it applies to a human being. There's no difference. There's no difference. Morality doesn't change because of the particular technology you're using, right? So the same kind of morality would apply. Ayn Rand's rational egoism would still be true. Enrique, any recommendations of getting a good, appropriate physical trainer therapist? Yeah, I mean, I use Tom Bison from the UK, and he trains me via Zoom. But so I think he'd be happy to take on new clients and do it by Zoom. But you can probably find go to a gym or try out a few people. I think the best way is to try out a few people. Talk to them, discuss it with them, and see if you want Tom's contact info, drop me an email. Yaron@yaronbrookshow.com. If you join the membership program, you get access to member-only shows, which I do every few months. I'll try to do them more on schedule this year, but you can also see all the old members-only shows, which are not available to the public, and I think are pretty valuable. So that is the main benefit of becoming a member, right? That's the main benefit of becoming a member, and I'll definitely try to do more membership shows this coming year. All right, guys. Let's see, where are we? So we're going to shift now to today's. I think I'm caught up. So we're going to shift now to today's Super Chat questions. We'll start with we've got a bunch of $50 plus ones. So let's go with those. Let's go with Frederick Sebastian Olsen from Sweden. Happy New Year, Yaron. One idea for next year's show: have multiple guests advertised to appear. Alex, Encore, Gina, etc. Go for the same runtime, set $25,000 goal. That way, people stay for longer, and it justifies an even higher fundraising goal. Interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely consider that. See if I can rope some people to join us and do that. I will try. It's a good idea. I'm going to copy paste that one. As an idea. All right. Let's go down. There we go. All right. Thank you, Frederick. Let's see. Wes, it seems to me that quite a few objectivists think there are a lot of TUIs out there conspiring against freedom. I think that gives our opponents too much credit. They are much more like the villains in Atlas. What do you think? Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there are any TUIs, in a sense that TUI is fully aware of his own evil. TUI is fully aware of what he is doing. And I don't think there are many people who are actually aware of what they're doing. I think most of these intellectuals are like in Atlas Shrugged. They are villains almost by default. They are villains through evasion. It's not that they know and understand what is actually happening, right? And understand their goal. They evade it. And I think Ayn Rand said that TUI almost couldn't exist because he would go, facing his own evil would drive him crazy. And I think that's true of Tucker Carlson, Dugan, all of these guys. They have to rationalize away the degree to which they evade, whereas Tui doesn't. Tui faces it full on, which I think can only happen in a novel. Graham, here's to 2025. Let's all make the best we can of it, despite all the irrationality in the world. Thank you, Yaron, for all the time and effort you put into the show. Really appreciate it, Graham. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a great 2025. Let's see. Mark, police sometimes arrest people for breach of peace. That is, for example, Israeli supporters observing and doing nothing wrong at pro-Hamas rallies. The fear is that their presence will cause the pro-Hamas people to become violent. Is this just? No, I mean, no. It's a sign of weakness. I mean, you should be arresting the people when they cause the violence. Not for just being there, not for just standing there. And indeed, part of the problem is our whole attitude towards protests, as if there's this God-given right to protest, to stand in the street, block traffic, you know, and people just and that is somehow protected, right? So and counter-protesting is not protected because you didn't get a license. So our whole attitude towards protesting needs to change. Yes, I think just being there cannot constitute, given that the other parties cannot constitute a crime. The crime has to involve the incitement or the initiation of force. And it strikes me that the pro-Hamas people are often inciting and advocating for violence. And they're the ones who should be arrested. Shazbot says more money for the Ford versus Ferrari review. Thank you. That'll make it to the 500, which is for a film review. Really, really appreciate it. All right, I need somebody to do reviews or something because we're short $191. So. $250 for well, maybe a little less because we just got 20 Canadian dollars, but we're basically $177. We are short a little bit, so keep them coming. $20, you know, 8 $20 questions, 9 $20 questions would get it. A few 50s, we'd be there very easily, and of course, $100 or something in that range would get us there very quickly. Of course. The 177 is to get us to $20,000 for the new year show for yesterday and today. Oh, sorry. Oyvind says, Happy New Year. Norway again soon. I'm coming to Tottenham. Tottenham, is that pronounced right? I'm probably not pronouncing it right. But Tottenham, probably March 21st. So I'm still waiting for final confirmation, but that's what we're working on. And then I don't know if I'll do something in Oslo on the way there, on the way back. Trottenheim, something like that. Trottenheim? No, I think there's a D there somehow, some way. I think there's a D. Anyway, whatever it's called, it's in the far north, and it's going to be very, very cold in March. I know that much. But yes, I don't know if I'll do something else in Oslo at the same time or do something. There it is. It's Trondheim. It's Trond, Trondheim. Yeah. And then he continues, I don't know why, but I chose Patreon for donating yesterday. I sent you a mail with a dialogue. It's very positive and, in my view, synonymous of how objectivism is affecting the culture. Thank you, Oyvind. Mark just basically got us to the goal. So, Mark, thank you with 280 Canadian dollars. Got us to our $20,000 goal. Really, really, really appreciate it, Mark. Thank you. Thank you to all the people who made it possible for us to get to this goal. It is really tremendous. It's the most we've ever raised in a 2-day period. And for bigger and greater things, Definitely buying a new camera, so the show will be even sharper than it is now. And we will keep at it. We will keep going. And 300 shows next year. 20. Just think about it this way: it's about 25 shows a month. So think about your contribution and how it's spread out over 25 shows a month. And I think that pace is something that I'd expect to continue. So I'd expect that we will continue with that. All right, let's see. Where are we? Jason says, what do you think of Kevin Spacey as an actor? Do you think he has been through enough and should act again? A repressed but talented actor who came out the wrong way and needed help and made amends, or a pervert forever? I don't know enough about, who he sexually harassed and under what circumstances and how violent it was. I just don't know. I think he's a good actor. I think it's a shame he's not acting. So I value his acting. And if no violence was involved, then I would definitely want to see him back on stage. But if violence was involved, then the question is, did he ever make amends? And again, I don't know about how and in what way he made amends. So I just don't know enough about the case and what exactly happened. Evan, I think Gail and Dominique's relationship had some amount of comfort. And this is the reason for why Rourke suggests they stay together if he's convicted. He and you will need each other. It wasn't the torture she expected. Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. They definitely had values, and the main value they had in common was their love of Rourke, right? So, and that's why, they will be a comfort to each other if he goes to jail, right? Because it's for both of them, he is this prime value. But it just psychologically, particularly given Dominique's psychological fragility, I mean, it couldn't have been easy. It must have been very hard for her. I like Claude. Happy New Year. Thank you for all you do. How should one identify and respond to the growing racism in American culture, politics, and individuals' thoughts and actions? I would just say the way you respond to any massive evil, and that is by speaking out and supporting the counter points of view, by making clear that you are not, and by never associating with the people who represent that, right? Who represent the racism, and by speaking up against it, by making clear that you're an individualist, by not being afraid to speak up against. It's just by standing up for your own values. That's the main thing. And, again, this is part of why I cannot be supportive of it. Again, it's different than voting, but cannot be supportive of somebody like Donald Trump, because I think Donald Trump brings this out in American culture, inspires it, and fuels it. And I can't support that. Now, again, this is why I can't get excited about even the good things that he does, because if the culture changes in this direction because of him, it wipes out any good he might do. Wayne, 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you. All the best for 2025. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Really, really appreciate it. All right, Michael. Did you see Pornhub left Florida because the legislature was requiring them to verify people's ages by asking for an ID? I didn't see that. That's interesting. So if you go in Florida and you put in Pornhub.com, it's blocked. You can't get it. They've blocked your access to it. Interesting. Look, it strikes me as there should be some reasonable way to prevent children from accessing this material. I don't know what the right way is. I don't know how you how you figure it out, having some kind of age verification that's not intrusive, that is not violating your privacy as an adult. So I don't know how to do it. I don't know the technology, but somebody should come up with a technology that allows you third-party verification. You're an adult, and now you can use it without disclosing your name or identity or birth date or anything like that for everybody else. Right? So I understand why they left, and good. I mean, I guess it's good that they left. There's a real violation of privacy by requiring you to literally identify yourself on a porn site. On the other hand, there needs to be some mechanism to verify age. So there has to be some middle ground. There has to be an alternative solution. Michael says, where has Antifa been lately? Are they waiting for Trump to take power to reemerge? I don't know. They're still out there, but the whole woke phenomena, the whole passion around it dissipated somewhat with Black Lives Matter dissipating. And then a lot of the energy of Antifa was captured by the pro-Hamas demonstrations. So a lot of the Antifa people are the same people demonstrating for Hamas, right? So it's not that they're gone. It's not that they're not on the streets. It's not that they're not harassing you. They're just harassing you for a new cause, a different cause right now. Will they reemerge under Trump? It's really hard to tell. I think the far left has taken a real blow. I think it's taken a real blow, and I think they're going to feel it. A blow that they didn't take really in 2016, but now they've taken it, and they took it somewhat at the university level, and they've taken it with with the election. They've taken it with just the American people turning against them. Pickaxing on Europa. Happy New Year in Haifa for the new year. Haifa's beautiful, beautiful Mediterranean industrial port. Went to the Hecht Museum. Took your advice, just walked towards what caught my eye, like a 2,400-year-old merchant ship. Thank you. Great. I mean, Haifa is a beautiful city, to which a lot of tourists don't ever go, unfortunately, because it's not well known, and tour guides don't take them there. And Austin, are civilian killings justified in war? Example, Israel bombing hospitals or schools where Hamas might be hiding under. Is that true or fake? Absolutely, civilian killings are justified in war. Indeed, there's no way to defend yourself in a war without killing the enemy civilians. There's just no way to engrave on the bullet only impact soldiers. And it's impossible when you're fighting an organization like Hamas, which wears civilian clothes, embeds itself in the civilians, uses hospitals and schools as headquarters, and it's absolutely unequivocally true. And yeah, I mean, Israel is killing the least number of civilians that any army has ever killed in urban warfare in all of human history. And, there's a sense in which that is hampering their ability to win this war. But yes, you can't win a war. Basically, if you say, we're not going to kill civilians in war, you're basically giving the enemy carte blanche to slaughter you. You will lose every single war that you fight if that is the condition, if those are the terms. Completely lose it. If you're interested in this, then check out my essay, which is online, on just war theory. Maybe Miroslav, if he's still on, can put the link to the essay on the chat, or maybe somebody else can just quickly Google the essay and find it and put it in the chat. Just war theory. It's on Ayn Rand Institute website. But check out that essay where I go into great length and a lengthy discussion about exactly this issue. Nathan, just watched your debate on national conservatism, and it was eye-opening to see a twisted view of freedom they have. I thought you did a great job putting forth a better alternative. Thank you, Nathan. Yes, and James Law is good, for a national conservative, but he's the best among them, right? So it's an eye-opening debate. If you haven't yet watched the individualism versus national conservatism debate, it's up online. Then you should watch it. It's really good. Miroslav has just posted the link to the essay, and there are also talks that I've given with lots of Q&A on this issue. Just look Morality of War, Yaron Brook, and you'll find a ton of material from me on the issue of killing civilians in war. Miroslav says, thank you, Miroslav. Members on YouTube can also use these milestone messages to ask questions. That's right. That's another benefit of being a member. Let me gift some membership. What the hell? It's a new month, so I can gift 5 members. Okay, I just gifted 5 memberships randomly, so I don't determine who gets them. So a few of them got them. Hope you benefit from them. All right, esoteric dichotomy. Hey, Aaron, glad you raised so much money. Let's make 2025 great. Do you have any debates planned for this year? Love your defense of capitalism. I do not have any debates planned yet for the year. I'm sure some will come about, but I've got talks planned, but I don't yet have any debates planned. That's not true. I will be doing a debate in Wales at the Institute for Arts and Ideas Festival in Wales in May. The debate is on, do people have too much freedom? Is there such a thing as too much freedom? They don't know what to do with all the freedom that they have. It causes them to be unhappy. So that's a debate. And actually, I'm debating the guy who I did the famous debate on inequality with, the professor from Yale. He's at that debate, so it should be fun. He's pretty smart. Thomas, Happy New Year. It was great meeting you and Jennifer in Nashville this year. Amazing talk on democracy. You've helped me to continue to push myself. I'm excited to see what I will learn in 2025. Great. It was wonderful meeting you. Thank you for making that drive out and coming to Nashville. Really appreciate it. Enric, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? I don't know. I have no idea. Thomas, can you explain the difference between subjectivism and personal preference? Yeah, I mean, a personal preference is your personal preference. Based on your rational assessment, based on your context, based on your knowledge, but it can still be rational. It doesn't have to be rational, but it can be rational. Subjectivism is the irrational. It is the whim. It is whatever you feel like. So subjectivism is guided by emotion. Personal preference can be, but it can also be rational. So that is the fundamental difference. Thomas also asked, can you explain the difference between selfishness and narcissism? Selfishness is rationally guiding your life, using reason to guide all your decisions in life in pursuit of your long-term rational well-being, flourishing, success, happiness. Narcissism is, again, the irrational pursuit of other people's adoration. So it's very second-handed. Other people's positive response to you, rather than your actual well-being. Narcissism is just about momentary emotion, the momentary emotional satisfaction of somebody adoring you or praising you or something like that. narcissism is more about, it's all about emotion. And just do what makes you feel good right now. And do what will cause other people to make you feel good right now. Whereas egoism is what is going to be good for me over the long term, over my life? Again, egoism is centered, focused, oriented completely around reason and rationality. Thomas says, is it intrinsic to say there is no God? No. Richard Dawkins said he's never 100% sure there's no God. He always leaves room for new evidence, thoughts. Yeah, all of that is nonsense. There's always room for evidence, but there's no room for evidence. Somebody has to bring the evidence. But as long as there's no evidence, there's no God. That is the state of knowledge. The state of knowledge is there's no God. Somebody brings new evidence, you have to consider new evidence. But all you're saying when you're saying there's no God is there's not a shred of evidence, that is completely arbitrary, and therefore not cognition, not something that can even be debated, unless evidence is brought forward, and then we can have a debate. But God at this point is, since there's no evidence, it's just pure randomness, pure arbitrariness. I think I got that right. MH08 says, for wearing my favorite Yaron shirt. I appreciate that. That's today. You really like the shirt. That's great. All right. Thomas says, you mentioned that Israel needs to be victorious in warfare. What does victory mean in warfare in general? How is it different than negotiations? Victory means the complete humiliation and subjugation of the enemy. So it means that the enemy knows they're defeated. It knows they've lost. It knows that they can never win. It knows that you have won and it has no chance to defeat you. That's what it means to be victorious. And you cannot achieve that through negotiations. And negotiations almost never lead to peace in a struggle between the good and evil. The evil needs to be thoroughly destroyed. It needs to be brought to its knees. It needs to completely understand that it cannot win. It might not understand why it was evil, but it needs to understand that it cannot win. It has no chance of winning. And then it's winning. It is capable of changing, because it's capable of saying, okay, I didn't win. Whatever I did before, that wasn't good. Look at Japan, right? It wasn't good. It led to Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the firebombing of every city, and we lost and we're humiliated. We can change. We can become better. It needs that recognition. Thomas, what are your thoughts on Disneyland, Disney World for children? Isn't it immoral to create a fantasy land? No, not at all. It's fun. It's exciting. I love Disneyland, love Disney World. Fantasy is good for children, just like art is good for adults. And it's incredibly enjoyable. And you don't want to lie to children, but telling them a story is not lying. And Disneyland is just a form of storytelling. It's a form of experiencing a story, experiencing fantasy. Nothing wrong with that. It encourages imagination. It encourages, again, the values that you get from kind of art. So I like Disneyland, particularly for children. Michael says, how would you compare Adolf Hitler to Ellsworth Toohey? I think he was aware of his own evil and didn't go insane. I don't know that he was. I think he rationalized it. So again, I don't think Adolf Hitler was fully aware. I don't think he thought of himself as evil. I think he thought of himself as good. He thought of himself as saving the German people. He thought of himself as ridding the world of vermin. I don't think he thought of himself as, no, I'm an evil human being and I'm evading and I'm out to destroy the world for the sake of destruction. I mean, maybe he had glimpses of it. But I don't think he was fully aware of it. Austin, would an objective candidate, objectivist candidate, have a chance as a Democrat or Republican? What message works best? I mean, no, I don't think. I don't think an objectivist candidate has a chance as either a Democrat or a Republican. I don't think he has a chance. Period. There's just no point at this point in our culture. You can't do that. You know, the message that works best is a message that sells out on objectivism. You're just not. There is just no message that is so well enough to be a candidate of the Democratic Republican Party. You know, on a scale, right? Maybe you can a local election, but not on a scale. I think the message that sells best is probably a message that links objectivism or capitalism to the founding fathers and plays off of American history and the love of freedom and the do not tread on me and the ideal of the founders. But I don't think it's a winning strategy. I don't think you can win. It's too early for politics. All right, guys. Thank you. I mean, the two yesterday and today have been fantastic. I really, really, really appreciate it. Oh, Rafael says my podcast in Porto is now live. Rafael, can you send me a link via email? And also, Rafael, I'll be spending a few weeks in Lisbon in the summer. So we should talk about if we can do anything while I'm in Lisbon in August. I'll be there in August. So send me a link, and then we can have a conversation about Lisbon in August. All right. Yeah, that was a really good podcast. So I encourage you guys, once I post it, for you to watch it. It was really, really good. Like the show before you leave, please. Part of the way we're going to expand the show, part of the way we're going to get more subscribers is, if you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. And please like the show. It doesn't cost anything either. Just that thumbs up little symbol. Just click on that. And both of those help with the algorithm. But of course, subscriptions, that's how we're going to grow. More and more subscriptions. So thank you. Thank you guys for making it possible for us to reach the $20,000 goal. I mean, that is fantastic, amazing. You guys are amazing. We have the best Super Chat audience in the world, in the country. I don't know about the world, but it's truly terrific. This is a great way to start 2025. Tomorrow we'll talk about some of the items in the news, like what happened in New Orleans today and some other things. But in the meantime, just have a great New Year's Day. I hope you get to relax, have fun, enjoy family or whatever, whoever you're hanging out with, and just anticipate next year. And tomorrow will also include some of my goals for the show for next year. Time watched, views and dollars and things like that. And growth in subscriptions. We said the stretch goal is 50,000 subscribers. That'd be huge if we can make 50,000 subscribers next year. Huge. But for that, I need you guys' help. I need you sharing. I need you liking. I need you commenting. I need you tweeting. I need you to engage. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow there'll be a news update. 2 p.m. I think East Coast time. Thanks, everybody. Bye. And